Everybody got the email, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
In New York City, and people are at the park playing soccer, which is a contact sport. Like, you're touching, you're sweating, and it's just like we're just not on the same page. Like, people aren't understanding what social distancing is, and like the government is being really lenient right now, and it's like, how many more people have to get sick and die for us to realize you need to stay inside unless you're an essential worker or you're going out to buy food.
Yeah, I drive by my park the other day. Just I needed to get out of the house. It was packed, and it wasn't even that warm. And the thing is, I work at a gym. Most of them are shut down. All the gym areas, they were packed with just the gym rats to recognize some of the people. So people haven't so much stopped as they've relocated. That's a good way to put it, I guess. Okay. Some people are getting it, and some people are underreacting. Like my mom is overreacting to it, locking down. She hasn't left the house in weeks, but my father's not underreacting. So he's like, yeah, whatever. Let's not get crazy about it. Yada, yada, yada. So yeah.
Okay. Somebody else.
I think I'd probably tell whoever in the future, like, this being one of the most, I don't want to say chaotic, but like a moment that really changed a lot of things. I feel like every generation, or like a lot of generations, especially like millennials and Gen X, they've experienced a lot of life-changing events. People who experienced, like, fully realize what 9/11 was, and even you can kind of stay like when Wall Street shut down or whatever the case may be. I think this is like a really big deal because life as we know it has changed dramatically, and I think it has impacted people in a variety of ways. But having I've never seen a situation where people literally are losing their jobs so rapidly. You can't function, you can't operate the way that you used to, and it's kind of, I don't want to say scary, because people are actually in situations where they're getting sick or they have loved ones that are unfortunately passing or whatever. But for just to be in a situation where life as we know it, just walking out, doing all this, and we literally have no idea when we'll be able to leave, I think I would share that, just like the fear that most people felt in this situation.
So this would be a story about fear.
For me, yeah. The anxiety of it all.
Okay. Somebody else.
For me, it's going to be a mixture of fear, just like Bianca said, and just a story on how to appreciate the little things we've sort of taken for granted over time, based off of technology. We don't really appreciate the people we have around, because we can always Skype them, we can always FaceTime, we can always just get out whenever it is we want to. And right now we can't even show love to the people we want to, even even within families, everyone is, I'm beginning to see videos of, even young kids that want to just joyfully hug their parents who's just coming back from home. And that sort of scare, which for the parents is, hey, I want to keep you safe, but for the kids, they just can't sort of factor it yet as to why the parents are sort of pushing them away when they just want to welcome them. It's just it's just scary, really, that that's very physical presence. We're gradually losing it. A lot of people are losing jobs, and it's just it's scary. I would definitely share a story about the fear and how it just sort of helped me personally appreciate the people I have around me.
Who are the major characters of the story? I mean, as you would retell it, who would be the major characters and why?
Now who would be the town fool?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, I mean, from the news, from the media, from your own life, who are major characters? Who would figure prominently in this story?
I feel like it would be the politicians and also the no, well, I
Yes.
was gonna say the poor and disenfranchised, but it's not even like the poor and disenfranchised that are only being affected. It's just everybody who is considered a non-essential worker. But I say the government because one, I saw a post, a tweet on Twitter, and it was basically saying like, now we can never go back to living like normal, because now when politicians say we don't have money for education, we don't have money for healthcare, we can always bring up the fact that they found $6.2 trillion within a matter of 1 week.
Yeah,
6.2 trillion, like I don't think people understand how much money
We
that
don't
is.
have-
And they found it because so many people are unemployed, so many people of different races, genders, and it's just a collective, we're all being collectively hurt by this. And then I also say the poor and disenfranchised, because I feel so sorry for the kids that don't have internet access, that don't have technology at home, because they're not learning at all right now, because the school districts are saying, hey, we're going to have class online, but it's like, how am I going to have class online? I don't even have cable. I don't even have internet. I don't have a laptop. Like, there's only one cell phone in the house, and it's my mom. So it's like, how do we address these issues in the future when we talk about, when we reference this story?
So this is going to be a
Me,
story
it
about
would-
disenfranchisement, about inequality.
Well, to
Yeah.
kind of, for me, I'm seeing it from a very different angle because working for a payroll company right now, you know, you're seeing firsthand companies making that decision to close up or decide that, you know, if we're not open by next week, we're done. You know, I have about 42 clients of my own, which I would have to say at least 35 of them have been affected in some capacity, with at least 15 of them telling me, you know, if this continues into April, we just can't see the possibility of us remaining open and paying our employees. And that's the real reality. And these are not like mom and pop companies. Like, these are like 1,000+ employee manufacturing companies and, you know, car dealerships and, you know, schools and everything else. Like, I have a company, I have a restaurant-based management company in Michigan, and they have 30 restaurants all throughout Grand Rapids.
Mm.
And the restaurant business is already struggling as it is prior to this. So, you know, on yesterday she called me and she said, you know, we need to start filing, you know, our termination paperwork with ADP because, you know, 2 of the 30 restaurants are going to remain and the other 28, unfortunately, are going to be closing up shop. And that's about 1,000 workers just out of work. So I feel like when we talk about the characters of it all, we also have to talk about the workers that are affected because, you know, for a while we never really talked about, you know, unemployment, how low it was, and it was, we were doing so great. And now we see this like huge skyrocketed number of like 3.3 million people applying for unemployment, and that number is only going to continue to grow.
Right. Right.
For me, the main character of my interpretation of the story would be the president.
Okay.
I mean, his first approach to it about, you know, the unfolding of COVID-19, he called it a hoax, and it was just like not really taking in actuality the severity of what's happening, of the virus. And then he started pointing fingers at China and other countries that, you know, have had it, or just say trying to pinpoint where it came from. I mean, at this point, it really doesn't matter where it came from. It's about how we're gonna deal with this as a country. And then just not getting that support from the leaders of our country who is not taking it seriously, it kind of trickled down because then you're sending mixed messages. You know, you have them on delivering updates on CNN and they're talking about practicing social distancing. Meanwhile, there's like 12 of them on the stage. That's not really sending a
Right.
great message. You know, lead by example. How about that?
Mhm.
And then on top of that, it's like also not being able to help with the unemployment rate. Like if you can literally pull money from out of your behind, you had the ability to, you know, stop this at some point or just at least prepare for it financially.
Mhm. Yeah. So you would say that the president would be a villain in this story?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Him and all those other politicians, him and the yes men. That's how I label them, the yes men. Like you don't, every time he has somebody who challenges him or like try to give him a different perspective, he comes out on TV and he just like destroys them or attacks them, and it's just you're not really taking in what's being said in a way of having an ability to deal with this or calming down, reassuring the country, or even trying to deal with it on a spectrum of finding a solution. He's mostly hung up on the fact that he's taking everything personal at this point.
Bad PR. If I was to talk it and thought about it, I guess I would say there were people like Andrew Cuomo and Bernie Sanders who are trying to get people their money, trying to maintain their areas, just trying to make sure that the average individuals don't suffer. And then you have people like Trump and a few other individuals, those that I've heard about on Fox News, who are like, well, maybe grandma has to kick the bucket so that the market gods can be kept afloat. Like they've been saying that, and like they're saying the quiet part out loud. Like I kind of always felt that they felt that way, but like they shouldn't. They actually just went out and straight up said it. Like, well, certain people gotta go so that we can get this thing back in order. And like that's not gonna fix anything. So that'll definitely be something that I'll definitely remember and tell people in the future. I know that much. Who was helping and who was hurting and who didn't do anything.
How do you I mean, some of you weren't alive, or were just kids during the 9/11. But do you see any similarities between this and the national tragedy of 9/11? And if so, what are they?
Xenophobia.
No.
Xenophobia, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
Yeah,
I
that
honestly, go ahead.
it's like
Yeah.
America's comfort blanket. We turn to racism whenever things get stressful, and I do not know why.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the images, I'll chime in, that I remember so strongly from 9/11 was the entire Congress standing on the steps of the Capitol singing "God Bless America," and suddenly it wasn't Democrats and Republicans; they were all singing together as national leaders. I don't see that at all ever happening.
I mean, they can't even form an alliance to deal with COVID-19 to sign a bill, like, or even come up some sort of comfort for the American people. So it's not only. I don't think that it differs in this case, because 9/11 literally you had buildings burning down. I think they're not taking it. There was an actual image of people dying.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to COVID-19, where they call it the invisible enemy. So
Right.
they're not physically seeing them people dying.
Right.
Yeah. My dad works at Amazon. According to him, some of the truck drivers who are literally going all over the country and whatever, some of them believe in their up and down, but other ones just like this whole thing, this big upstart, and it's that generation is just like, it ain't no thing. I'm like, no, sir, like you could die from this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like drive by a hospital.
Who's the bigger enemy?
Wait, I wanted to answer that last question. As far as any like similarities or differences, I vividly remember the day of 9/11. I was sitting in a classroom in high school, and they turned on the TVs and we watched it. And I think the difference that I experienced is that it really brought a sense of unity, everyone together, versus right now I feel like people are, oh, I gotta plug in. If I feel like people are all over as far as with their belief in our country and
Yes.
with the assistance that will be provided, before, I mean, say right now, they say some folks are banding together seamstresses to make masks and that sort of thing. It's okay, but before it was like an abundance of help. You saw everyone that wasn't first responders volunteering to go to the site and, to go through the debris, that sort of thing. I really feel like the difference is this is dividing us, and it's plenty of lies being told. And to Jamie's point, as far as the one of the villains, she said the president. I saw a time lapse of his interviews with the dates on them, and it was like, February 5th, February 12th, and it was still like, oh, there's only 5 cases, there's only 12, it's only 11. Remember, the numbers were extremely low, and then as soon as all of February, then as soon as March hit, we're up to, how many cases are we up to now in the US? Like over 80,000, I think, like 100,000.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's clear somebody isn't telling the truth here, So it's hard, and it's divisive,
Mhm.
I think, as far as him, pointing fingers, as opposed to really trying to bring the people together, and like the lashing out when one of the press people during the conference said, people were scared, what do you say to the Americans? And he was like, that's a nasty question, and you're a bad reporter.
Yep.
And the guy, he like clutched his little invisible pearls, like, what? Because it was a very fair question. People look to the president for hope. They look to the president for truth. They look to the president for help. And so when you really break down the truths and you get to what the problem really is, it's like taboo to ask those sort of questions to him. And I don't think that.
The translation is basically,
Right.
he didn't have an answer to that question, and it would have made him look bad.
Well, say that instead of, at least say that instead of attacking the person who asked the question. Just say it doesn't hurt to say, I don't know, or we don't have that answer right now. We don't have that information right now. We're working on it.
Let me switch gears a little bit. Could you describe the impact that this pandemic has had on your communication?
There isn't any.
No. Why do you say that?
I'm just so accustomed to being like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and then I'm gonna stop at a friend's house and then do that, and like all of that is just gone. And like I'm a big person on like interpersonal communication, where if I want to go talk to someone, I'm gonna go and have a conversation with them, etc. And it's like I feel like now the only thing we can do is like FaceTime each other or Zoom meetings, and I just feel like you're losing that sort of value of being, more intimate, and, it's just kind of like, I feel like I'm just calling people to like talk to someone, or I'm going to start talking to the house plant that I have down here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that's where we're going. And like, I'm trying to keep very positive. And like, for example, like me and my parents have been home, physically been in our house for 15 days together. I think I've spoken to my mother more in the last 15 days than I've spoken to her my entire life, which has been fun. But I'm losing I'm losing a piece of my sanity, not being able to like go out and like see people, and like it's been real rough. It's been real rough.
Okay.
To say
For
the
me,
least.
it's the opposite. I really value my alone time. I really value hearing my own thoughts. And there's like, before all of this, there were like sections of the day where you were at work, sections of the day where you had to speak in class and all that. And then when you got home, you're by yourself with your thoughts to do your assignments, to even just breathe. Now everything is meshed into one. And like before, it used to just be you're at work and then you had a meeting. Now my job has decided to meet every single day. And I'm like on a short fuse, because what are we meeting for every single day for? Like, what can we discuss that we did not discuss yesterday? Why can't I just do my work by myself, as we kept, like, why can't we just keep the same schedule? And then for like the past 2 years, I've spoken to my parents and my younger brother, like, you know, via phone, just coming to visit. Everything is like fun and cute. And then when this happened, I went back to being the 15-year-old girl with teen angst that is like irritated by everybody. Like it just, it's not putting me in the right place when it comes to communication, because I'm not in control of how much communication I have to do. Like I have to follow whatever is the protocol now. Like I have to go to meetings, I have to go to frequent meetings, and I have to meet online with classes. And it's just very, very overwhelming to not have moments where I'm not communicating.
So you're saying it's made you communicate more than you normally would.
Yes, and it's not, the communication is not valuable in my opinion. Like I think we're just filling up space because everybody feels alone. When on the opposite spectrum, there are people who rather be alone, and we don't have that choice anymore.
Okay, good. Somebody else?
I would say that my communication did increase a little more because I text more. Sometimes I message on social media. If I don't have the person's number, I really want to check on them. But it has increased a little bit with my communication, just checking on everyone to see how they're doing, just to make sure they're safe. I try to do it as often as I can, not to a point where like saying, "Oh, you're texting too much. We're okay." Like we get checking on us, but you're doing it too much. But I feel like it has increased a little more.
Okay. Soraya, we haven't heard much from you.
I was going to talk. For me, I would say my communication has actually decreased, especially in the form of social media, because there's so much, I would say, miscommunication that's going on social media, or so many opinion-based facts being, put out there. A lot of people are, just publishing whatever they see or sharing whatever they see. And I've kind of like removed myself, I would say, from that community of, trying to explain things to people who they don't get it. Like they see clickbait or they see quote unquote fake news, and then they share this with their community, and then it just leads to, this false narrative. So for me, I would say communication has kind of decreased because I've tried to remove myself from, debating back and forth with people about why this is true or why this isn't true or how this isn't a Chinese virus. Like, a lot of people are just taking things at face value and then making their opinion, the overall factor in this. So for me, communication has decreased.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, so I was going to say that I sort of have been, practicing social distancing since I came to the US. But this period has sort of made my communication with a lot of people not very genuine, in the sense that everyone right now just wants to, talk about the news, talk about how you're doing. And I feel like nobody is even interested in whatever it is you're doing in your personal life. They just want to be sure that you're safe. And even availability, right, personally for me, it's really been scarce, because you find everyone right now trying to fit in work, their kids, just keeping some sort of sanity. And most of the time, when I reach out to some of my friends or they reach out to me, I'm like, hey, this is not a good time to talk. I've got work to do. I've got this to do. And it sort of feels like, for me, like when I expect every one of us to be bonded, we're sort of being separated, because we need to, continue with the regular work, which hasn't really been the best scenario to work on. I have some of my cousins at home that I have to ensure that they do their school packets, they log into their system. I have work to do, I have class work to do. And so when they call me, I'm like, I'm not available. This is what's happening. I feel on the other part too, they want to talk to people, but there's really nobody in a situation where there should be somebody to talk to. So I feel that has really been the major impact for me.
Have there been any, what have been positive things in terms of your communication that has come out of this? Anybody have any positive statements to say that because of this? I don't know. Any positive effects?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. For me, the positive thing would be the fact that I think we were sort of appreciating, like I said earlier, ourselves more. I've found a whole lot of people, friends from as far back as 5 years ago, who have just sort of reached out just to be sure that, hey, you're fine, and you're just, staying safe wherever you are. And for me, it just means a lot to find people just sort of just want to check on ourselves, really, because really we need that human element to keep, and we need ourselves to just be bonded so we can go through this trying times together. And I feel like that's really one positive thing for me.
Anybody else? And don't you want to say something?
I was just gonna say, like, just I guess like me and my mom have been hanging out a lot, since she's the only person I could speak to. So I would say that, in a sense, like, I've gotten, and me and my mom normally don't like hang out with one another. And since we're the only options that we have, so like we've been watching a lot of Lifetime. We've been drinking wine. It's been an experience, to say the least, because she's not working. So like my mom is the type of person that like her entire life revolves around working. So like her being told like, oh, don't come to work, she, I think, is also taking it very, she doesn't know what to do either with herself, because she has a routine, a schedule, and I also have the same thing. And now we're trying to figure out how we can kind of, do things, going on walks and, a bunch of other things. We organized our attic the other day. That was different. We just, we're trying to stay positive, because really we're the only, option that way. And then my dad's just there taking a nap. But me, that's just neither here nor there. But me and her have gotten super close, so I can't complain about that aspect. So that's probably the only positive thing about this entire thing.
I would say my communication has taken a turn for the negative.
Okay.
My husband and I, like, whenever on a normal basis, we don't talk about work at all. And now it just seems like that's the only conversation we have. And he's upstairs in the room yelling at the computer, and I'm downstairs yelling at my computer. So it's it's kind of like we don't get to de-stress a little bit because of the amount of communication that's happening right now. So we don't really have an outlet. And then on top of that, it's for a positive side, I would say that it seems like the messaging from networks are actually kind of like coming back under the Christian values, because I haven't seen this in years, where someone was actually promoting a prayer line, a 24-hour prayer line on cable TV. This is like TV that people pay for specifically, so you don't really see any of that stuff unless you go to the Christian channels. But I've seen it promoted on CNN, Channel 11, like the basic TV stations. And then I remember seeing that as a kid back in the 90s, and now here it is. As soon as 2000s hit, I haven't seen any of those messagings before until recently, now that we're under the pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't, not positive now, but in the future, I think the positive of coming out of this will be the communication between the people and the government will change. The communication between employees and employers will change. I think that it's going to shape a new form of communication as far as how not even pandemics, but crises are handled through politicians or through companies. I think, our generation will go into job interviews and ask questions, regarding this of how did the company handle this? What was your initiative to your employees? What was your response to this pandemic? So I think positive, post-positive, I think communication will change between a lot of different groups for the better.
Let
I
me.
think for me,
Go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think for me, on a personal level, as far as communication, it has forced me to communicate more with people. As far as the just staying home part, I am okay with that. I enjoy being home. I'm not one of the type of folks that'll be like, oh, I'm so bored out of my mind and doing all of those things. Like, I'm okay with being with me. And as far as phone calls and actually, or on Duo, little FaceTime apps and stuff, my friends are calling and I can easily ignore them for like a week or two and send a text like, hey, I'm gonna call you back. And just because I just don't feel like having a long conversation, or I don't feel like trying to get off the phone, how you're on the phone and you're like, okay, but and they won't allow you to get off the phone. So much so that one of my friends would say, like, if you are in that moment, like you're in that shell, just say cocoon, text me cocoon or something. Like, that's our little code word. And then when you're ready to talk to me, just say butterfly, like you're out of it, because I would just not answer the phone because I don't feel like talking or I have too much going on. But in this time, it's like you feel like you have to band together because it's just so much going on, and you would never want to have that feeling of I didn't speak to this person when I could have spoken to them. You know what I'm saying? Because I really feel like a lot of folks are walking around with it and just don't know it. Like they're saying is a lot of folks don't have symptoms and that sort of thing. So you really can't take certain things for granted. And where I would normally cut my parents off when they're talking, they will talk to me for, I can literally sit on the phone for an hour. I'm like, okay, guys, I gotta go. And they're still sad. Like nothing is ever gonna be good enough. But I'm like, let me allow them to talk as much as possible because they are older. And what if I don't get a chance to have those type of conversations? So as far as communication, it really has opened up my eyes to appreciate the folks I have around me and my core team and support system.
None of you have been directly affected by the virus. Is that correct?
No direct effects.
Yeah.
I mean,
how far removed is the virus from you? How many of you know somebody who has tested positive?
One of my friends has tested positive. It started off as pneumonia.
Okay.
And then, so now it felt real, and I think what made it feel real for me is about the family, the large family, and 4 people passed away in New Jersey.
Right.
Then I was like, oh, this is like here, like people are gone, and then they got it, and they're younger and don't really have any pre-existing conditions. But then you have to think about they also live with their grandparents, well, grandmother and their mom, and so now they're showing symptoms. So it's like difficult to wrap my head around, because this can happen to anybody, and they don't. It's like real. So I think a lot of people, especially when it first initially was talked about being a quarantine and hearing about other countries, and people are kind of like disregarding older people and saying, well, it only affects older people, so they're gonna have to go. Like, it was basically kind of like that. And why so many people our age and younger were like, well, I'm still going on spring break, da 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 da. So now it definitely, it already felt real, but it feels even realer because it's like not right in my backyard, but it can happen to literally anybody who seems healthy and is taking the precautions and washing their hands. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you can catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm about to say I actually know two. Sorry, I actually know 2 people that have it. One is a family friend. Another is a girl that I went to school with. She announced it on Facebook that she have it, and she's a nurse. She just actually became a nurse, and it was like such a shock to hear because both of them are my age. My mom saw the other girl's mother yesterday at the store. She said that she had it. I was like, oh my, I was like so shocked because I haven't seen them in a while, but I'm like, she was such a nice girl, and both of them are nice. And it was like such a shock to hear that both of them have this, and like keeping them in my prayers. And it's like so shocked to hear. And maybe I say it can happen to any of us because you don't know like any age, young, old. This can happen. So just gotta continue to be careful out there.
On my husband's side of the family, he has lost 2 people.
Wow.
Sorry to hear that, Jamie.
Wow.
I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences, Jamie.
Thank you, guys.
Final question. It's kind of a fun question. Any metaphors? I mean, if we love to talk about things in terms of Aurella, you talked about, you used a metaphor that you would use to describe this. I mean, like, I'll give you an example. Like when I walk in the park, I really feel like I'm walking through a scene from The Walking Dead. Because I'm always looking for movement so I can avoid people. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it feels like that. Does anybody have any other metaphors that this feels like?
I think I would say the metaphor would be Resident Evil the movie.
Okay.
And I say that because I do honestly believe that this was actually created and put in place to actually create the pandemic and put fear into people by the company that it's supposed to create the solution for it as well.
Really? You think this is a conspiracy thing?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
So I have 2 metaphors. I would say, including the first one, so that's 3. But I don't know if anybody watches The Office, but the fire drill scene, that's what it feels like right now. It feels like it's just chaotic, and like everybody, for example, the toilet paper suppliers, the toilet paper stockpilers, why are you stocking toilet paper? It feels like people are just moving in disarray and no one really knows why they're moving in disarray. It's just pandemonium. And my second metaphor would be the story of Noah's Ark.
Yes, I thought of that too.
He's building the ark and like people are just like, nah, no flood is gonna come. What's wrong with this guy? And I feel like those are the people who are preparing, and they're like, you know, that we have to take this seriously. And other people just like, nah, I'll be fine. And those are the people that end up sick, dead, or just like in really bad positions because they didn't take the warnings of NOAA, or in this case, the health services seriously.
That's funny because I've thought about Noah's Ark, but from the idea of it's just Noah and the family inside the ark. Nobody's getting in, nobody's getting out. It's just, you know, me and the animals and the wife and the kids, you know, and no Netflix, no, you know. So anybody else?
Well, if I was to give it one example, I've been going out the house mostly to get food. Well, fast food was because, you know, just craving for it, I guess, and occasionally buying things at the dollar stores and whatnot. And one thing I headed to is like a game of chance, because there is no way of knowing without any form of supervision, I guess, or thing of knowing who's safe, who's not. Everyone is a thing. You basically, it's just one giant game of chance. It's like maybe this person will be fine. Maybe this person's been working here, but also you got, it's like there's some people who they have, this hasn't caused them to stop, and they've still been coming in. Like people at Popeyes haven't stopped, people at dollar stores still in. So they get exposed to people every now and then. Maybe they've been lucky, or maybe they haven't been wearing their gloves. Or maybe the guy at the pizza store who didn't think it was a big deal, you probably shouldn't have bought a pizza from him until it was too late or whatever, you know. Like my Chinese food place right on the corner, I got food from them literally the day before they closed down for COVID-19. So maybe it was just a coincidence, or maybe who knows. Yeah. So game of chance, I guess.
Okay. Any final remarks? Anything that needs to be said about communication during the pandemic?
I would just like to give advice to everyone, just monitor your mental health, because I'm right now I'm in a position where I feel like my mental health is just depleting. Like I don't want to get out of bed, even though I'm working from home. It's like I don't want to get out of bed. Like I don't want to do any work because I can't focus on my work. Like I said, it just feels like I'm focused on the wrong thing. I'm cooking in the kitchen and half the kitchen is on fire. I should be focused on putting out the fire, and I'm making macaroni and cheese. So it's just like, so I just say everybody, like, take care of your mental health and just like take a break. Don't feel bad if you have to call out sick and you're working online. Like, don't feel bad.
Thank you, Aurelia. Oh my God. I woke up on Friday and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yes.
How would I look if I tell my boss that I don't want to work today? I'm calling out sick and I'm literally working from home.
I did that on Friday. So from Monday, like I was saying, we have meetings every single day, but the meetings are not like hour meetings, like, you know, you used to. No, 3-4 hour, like just on literally like this, but we working together. I'm like, no. So they set up one on Friday and it was crickets for me. It like I act like my phone was dead. It was broken. I didn't say anything to anybody. I just didn't show up. I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, they can either think like something happened to me or whatever the case may be, but I need this break. Like that was my first break in the 15 days. I think Antonio said it. Yeah, I've been quarantined for 15 days now. So this is my first day besides the weekends that I did not go to work, and I felt like so much joy. And to add on to the mental health, sleep. Like yesterday, today, why did I go to bed at 6 a.m. knowing that I have a 9:30 class? And it's been like that. I keep saying like, it feels like time doesn't exist anymore, but it definitely does. Like you have to create your own schedule. And I think I'm still in that moment of shock where it's like, this can't be real. Like this can't be the situation. So I'm just like not sleeping or sleeping during the day that's not healthy. I should go back to the schedule or create my own schedule to help me out.
I would say my advice would be to try not to be overloaded with the amount of communication that you put out or the amount of communication that you're receiving. Like for me, I had to turn the TV off. I don't want to hear anything about COVID-19 from the media. Definitely cut myself off of social media. I've noticed when I check my emails, my Keen emails, every day there was an update. I even had to like delete those, just bypass them and just delete it. So I pretty much trying to control the amount of communication that's coming towards me.
Like I had a moment too, because like next week is our comps exam, which is Friday, and like I haven't been able to focus at all on that. So I told my job yesterday, I was like, listen, I was like, I need off next week, Thursday and Friday. So Thursday, the day before, kind of prep myself and get ready for it, and then Friday, you know, actually take the test. And my manager was just like, well, I mean, you're working from home. And I was just like, it doesn't matter if you're working from home. I was like, I'm like, we're all trying to juggle so many things. Like, if I need the time, I'm going to take the time. Like, you can't tell me I can't. You know what I mean? So I feel like now there's like this idea of like, well, you're working from home, so like you don't need a mental health day. And I'm like, I feel like you need a mental health day now more than ever before, because you're just doing the same. I feel like I'm just like a mouse on a wheel. Like I'm just like not doing, I don't know. So I'm going to be taking some time off next week and just, you know, focusing on trying to answer questions that I probably don't know the answers to, but you know, we'll figure it out when we get there.
You got this, Antonio.
You do.
Thank you.
You do. Any other question? Any other statements before we wrap this up? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to post this as a focus group meeting on the Zoom recordings. I'm going to see if I can run. I may run it through YouTube to see if I can get captions to make it easier for us to analyze. I'd really like this to become a document that we could all analyze together. I'm not quite sure how to do the logistics of that. Maybe create a common Google Doc and people can add to it, spend money or spend time transcribing. So we'll have something to work with. But at any rate, this has been great. You're getting a little sample of what a focus group would have been like had you had a chance to do one, and now we're going to look at the data and do a thematic analysis of it. Okay, everybody have a great week. Just stay well. Give yourselves hugs, because you can't get it from anybody else. And if you have any questions, reach out by all means. Okay.
Professor, you
Thanks,
stay
Professor.
safe
Thank you.
and do all of the things that they say. Have warm drinks, have tea,
Yeah.
so that it flushes through and doesn't go to your lungs. Gargle with salt water, you know, all of those
And
things.
All the good things.
For
Try to
real.
get somebody to, massage your back a little bit so your lungs can actually drain
Yeah.
all the mucus out. Yeah.
Yeah, those are good. That's great, because I actually have a roller I can use to massage my back. So that's a good point. Okay, well, we'll be back online again then next week, 9:30. I've set up just a regular ongoing meeting now on everybody's calendar. So I think it's just a matter of going to your Google Calendar and clicking on the meeting, and that'll take you right to the Zoom room. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to stay in the room till everybody leaves, and then I'll end the recording. Okay.
Okay.
Have a great week.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Bye-bye.
Everyone stay safe.
Okay.
Doctor, really quick question. Oh, Jamie, you can
Yeah.
go first. It's okay.
No, I was just gonna say that I sent over the
got
final
it.
cleaner. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Antonio.
So just a really quick question. So oh my God, I just forgot what I was going to say. The exam you're going to post on the 4th, and then we have until the 11th to complete
Right.
it.
Right.
Okay, so perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go finish the lit review then, and you'll see it at some point today.
Terrific. Wonderful. Very good. Very good. Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. Nice job today, OE. Okay, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I forgot it was on mute. You said the literature review, we could still send it later today or early tomorrow?
Yes, I won't look at them until Monday. I can guarantee you that. I need a break too.
Okay, I won't get penalized for sending it late.
No, I don't penalize anybody during. No penalization during pandemics. Okay.
The lit review is the one where we just take all of our links, all the quotes and the sources from links, right?
Say that again.
The lit review is when we just take all of our sources and our links and to a section.
Well, I need more than just a link, though. I need the actual journal that it's coming from.
The link. Oh, right. The journals, the quotes, what we're taking from them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
How many would it have to be again?
How many? As many as you can give me.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Very good.
I'm gonna leave. Ooh, okay, sorry.
That's all right. Just, yeah, at the bottom. There you go. Leave meeting at the bottom. Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.